Welcome everybody to another episode of Why We Geek, the podcast where we talk about a specific facet of geekdom, whether it be sports, whether it be TV, whether it be movies, and we dissect it and we show our love and our passion for it. I am your host, Adam Mickelson, aka Drac. I hope everybody's having a good month so far. But this month, we get to have a little bit of fun because we're going to be talking about a subject to geekdom that is very near and dear to me because bottom line, when I was into it, it was more of a niche thing. It was more of a cult classic kind of thing. And now it's astounding to me that it is so saturated in culture, into modern pop culture, that it's unavoidable. You even have like your modern day sitcom referring to it. You even have animation paying homage to it. And of course, we're talking about anime. And a lot of people might be thinking, oh, we're going to go into a specific genre of it. No, today is just going to be kind of a generalized anime talking of, is what I'm trying to say here. And we're going to have some fun talking about this genre that we love so much. And of course, let's go ahead and start things off because I'm obviously not alone. I've actually not only gotten my usual panel of three, but this was such a big subject, I had to add an extra person in there. So let's go ahead and introduce our first guest, which is Alex, the Shadow Blazer himself. He does anime reviews on YouTube. He is an awesome guy overall. Alex, how you doing tonight?
I am doing great because I'm here and I'm going to talk some anime here. Going to talk about the animus.
You're going to talk about the animes?
I'm super excited to be here because I'm super excited for this topic because, yes, anime is my whole channel. It's everything I do. Well, some game stuff too, but that's another matter. But I do. I love anime and I love talking about it. Especially love being able to talk about it on other people's podcasts. It's the time I can nerd out and not be looked at like a weirdo.
Especially in the concept that there's actually been a few of these podcasts that you actually wanted to be very much a part of and weren't able to because I actually kind of locked down the panels before I brought you in, mainly because I already knew that I was going to be doing this with you, and it's not like I'm not going to do those other subjects too. So, and at that point we can bring you in, because I know in particular Harry Potter, Power Rangers, they were both things you wanted to get into, and unfortunately the panels were locked at that point. So this is going to be a fun night, I think. And then I'm also being joined by two other fellow anime reviewers, but here's where it gets interesting because they don't just review anime. We have one that also reviews anime-based games, and we also have one who does manga, which I have a feeling manga will get its own episode in due time. But let's go ahead and introduce them. First of all, we have Anime Atlas, who not only does reviewing of anime, but he also does anime games. In particular, he's a big fan of the Hatsune Miku games that do come out. Atlas, how are you doing tonight?
I am doing fantastic. I just got done dusting off my room, so everything is nice and sparkly, and right now I am just sitting here waiting, not waiting, just enjoying my time with you guys doing this amazing podcast, and I cannot believe that today we are going to be talking about anime in general, which is really great, so I am stoked.
And then also we, covering the manga end, we actually have Vixian Anime and Manga Box joining us tonight. Vixian, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. It's great to be here, and thank you for inviting me.
Oh, it's always fun to have you guys down here. I mean, you and me just barely did an interview, a couple of months ago? And so we already went off into our own tangents there. Now we get to go into something you're passionate about, which is obviously anime and manga. So this is going to be a fun night. And let's go ahead and kick things off. So people who are new to the format of Why We Geek, basically we're going to dissect this as much as we can through questions, things like that. And I can think of no better question to answer because I actually like the variation we have in the panel. Because with me, you have an 80s anime geek because I grew up with like all of the forbidden OVAs and all that stuff. So I've got that weird and warped personality because of it. With Alex and Atlas, you have a 90s-esque personality to what anime was back then. And I would actually even say, Vixian, you probably are also a 90s anime fan, as well as probably into the 2000s along with Atlas.
Mm-hmm.
Would that be fairly safe to say? So the first question I want to get into is, and it's near and dear, and it's always where I want to try and start the podcast, is your first ever anime. And the reason I want to bring it up this way is your first anime isn't necessarily what makes you a fan. It isn't what bonds you to the genre. So yes, I'm going to ask you your first anime, but more along the lines of the first anime that got you hooked, made you want to watch more. And I'll go ahead and take the first shot to kind of give you guys a feel for it. And mine is kind of an unusual one because as me and Alex have kind of debated back and forth on Draken Shadow, I have gotten into things like Transformers and Voltron because of Toei, but for me, my actual love of the genre came from an unlikely source, and that was a old Fox TV show called Captain Power and the Soldiers of the Future. It was supposed to be like a family Star Trek, which is funny because Star Trek is family, but nobody acknowledges it that way. And the way that I got into it was obviously, since you're catering to kids, there's obviously toys. And in particular, they actually created a fighter jet game, an interactive VCR cassette game that you could play to be able to get a high score, but they actually had an anime studio come out and do the animation for it. And I mean, we're talking like old school 80s anime, like flashing lights, all that fun stuff that you can get used to for stuff for movies and OVAs at the time. And after I saw this animation, I was just absolutely hooked. So a lot of people might think like Cowboy Bebop was that first thing for me. No, these cassettes actually made me a lover of the animation and make me want to see more. And for those who don't know who I'm talking about, I'll obviously put a link in the description and you guys can check this out because those videotapes are now on YouTube. And I'll make sure that you guys can have access to that. And let's go ahead and start things off with Vixen. Vixen, what would you actually say is the first anime that got you into the genre, that hooked you?
Alright, so the very first anime that actually got me into the genre was Tokyo Mew Mew, and it was on a channel called Pop Girl, which was very popular here in the UK for being a very cartoon-esque. I mean, they played Totally Spies and all that kind of stuff, and that's when I first found Tokyo Mew Mew, and it was dubbed by, I think it was Kids TV or something like that. I had that kind of dub. It's a really bad dub, and they left it on a cliffhanger, and there was only 26 episodes, and then later on I found out on YouTube actually the whole rest of the series was on there, but it wasn't in English. It was in some weird language from me back then, like I didn't really know. And I started watching it and I just got really, really into it. I kind of became in love with the original Japanese voice actors and like the show as a whole, and that's kind of what got me started into anime, because then I started buying the manga and moving on from that to Oran High School Host Club, and it just went on from there really.
Okay. And then also let's go into Atlas. What was the first anime that got you hooked into it? So we have Tokyo Mew Mew and random video cassettes. How on earth are you going to top that, my friend?
Ooh, man. God. This is before I even found out about Toonami. Okay, great. The first anime that I actually got hooked on immediately was Pokemon, because the way how the animation was done, the way how like the story was, and the characters and all the Pokemon that you could name off the top of your head. And that's when I also got into the games. And then from there on, you know, I watched all the way up to like the 5th season, and then I just stopped. And then I just kept playing the games on ahead. So, and then you know, I later on, as I was, you know, doing good in school, I discovered YouTube. Like right when it was coming out, like I found out about YouTube, and it was still relatively I cannot say it right, relatively new to the internet. So then I did some research on some forum sites and all that stuff. So it's been really cool. But I just love Pokemon. It was great.
Okay, so you would say Pokemon is the thing that brought you in. Okay, cool.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And then Alex the Shadow Blazer. Now I know the answer, okay, and I think a lot of your fans know this answer. But let's approach this from the angle of, this is somebody who's listening to you for the very first time. What was the first anime that you watched that literally hooked you into the genre? You had to see more.
You know, just through the few moments of waiting and listening to everybody else, it's been a little tricky to say. I mean, for the I would still say it has been Dot Hack Sign for the longest time, and I still say that. I say that is the anime to truly make me the hardcore fan, you could call me, that I am today, because I remember that was really one of the first I did a lot more extensive research on, learning who the voice cast was, learning about the music, learning about the animators behind it. But but it's just like from that I can also say, well, the late '90s, it was a perfect storm of right place, right time. Starting with Pokemon, which I mean, it wasn't really my first Pokemon, but I do remember just watching that and falling in love with it. From Pokemon came Digimon. From Digimon came Monster Rancher, Card Captors, which is what it was called over here, and Moncole Knights. And I know there's a few others that like made the Fox Kids network at that time. I don't remember all of them, but it just all kind of culminated in 2003 with Dot Hack.
Okay. Yeah. So at that point, I mean, you were seeing all of this awesome animation, but it wasn't hooking you necessarily. But Dot Hack is the one that just brought you in, and you had to see more.
Yeah, and I think that was even the very first anime I ever bought on DVD was Dot Hack.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, and so the next question is going to get a little bit more complicated because back in my day, because I can do that, anime was very niche, okay? And the reason I say that is because there was really only one genre in anime that was making its way to the States. And 80% of the time, it was action, 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 action. Now we live in an era where there are so many facets of anime that they literally eclipse actual amounts of genres for actual TV. I think we can all honestly say that because when you look at how many things there are actually in anime, they mirror what so like if you got a soap opera in the middle of the day, you could have a soap opera anime. It does exist. And so at that point, the next question is, of the various genres out there, which one would you actually say you are the most fan of? So like when a show comes out in that genre, you are going to watch it because you want to see if it's going to push you to that next series, whatnot. For me, it's very easy to answer. I mean, I've made it very clear numerous times that I'm a mecha fan, but really what has to do it is I'm just a general lover of action anime because I started with shonen-esque anime. That's really what was coming here before mecha took over. And so at that point, I would say I'm an action fan. Atlas, where would you actually say you stand? What genre is your favorite of the medium?
I would say definitely action, because that was where I started watching, Dragon Ball Z and stuff. And I just loved all the great fighting scene moments in the show throughout the seasons. And, it just kept escalating with Gundam. And, I know that is one of your favorite series of all time because you love mechs very much. So it's, I really, I've gotten into a lot more different genres now than just action because there's a lot of anime shows that have great animation. Even if it's not action, it could be a romantic series. And, it's going to have really good animation, good characters, good writing, good voice acting. And it also depends on, the developer and publisher of that particular genre. So
okay,
it's amazing.
All right. Vixen, what genre of anime would you say you're just a diehard fan of?
Oh god, I mean, I really do have to say that is a very, very tough one to pick because I kind of have two that I avidly watch, but I guess if I really had to pick my favourite, and I'm pulling at straws here, I would have to say the magical girl genre purely for the fact that is what got me so interested in anime in the first place.
Which is an interesting one
and,
because
I know that's
like a merging of action and drama right there. Safe to say, yeah. So that's actually an awesome genre to be a part of. And not for me so much because I'd be the creepy guy, but I'm glad that you enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, I love the whole magical girl part of it, but I also it's really difficult to pick for me because I also am a fan of the horror genre personally as well, but magical girl's always got that color that I want in an anime, I'd have to say.
The horror genre is another expanding one that's becoming awesome, and actually I've been finding a lot more series that I'm into that are in the horror genre, and we're talking legit horror because a lot of people might be distinguishing series that like Black Blood Brothers or Trinity Blood where they're more in the action vein. We're talking like legit horror where Psychopath or Psychopath you're trying to avoid, or Cthulhian horrors that are coming out, not the hentai type people. Don't go there. We're not rolling for schoolgirl damage right now.
No.
So yeah, horror is another thing that's actually rising up. In fact, I shouldn't bring this up because Alex is going to smack me, but I did find it funny when there was talk of a Five Nights at Freddy's movie that there actually was an anime studio that wanted to procure the rights to Five Nights at Freddy's. And just think about that. A Five Nights at Freddy's horror anime.
It'd be so weird. I can't imagine.
It would be weird, I'm not going to lie.
It would be. Alex, what about you? What genre would you say you are solidly anchored to?
Oh, that's also tough because I think like Vixen, I'm kind of a two-pronged answer here, but I'd almost say I gravitate very heavily towards slice of life. This is especially true as I've gotten into subtitled anime. I still love dubbing and all, but when I watch like a brand new anime that's fresh on the market and subtitled, well, I find like the slice of life drama category is the easiest to follow, where when I'm going to watch like an action show or a fantasy show, I find I enjoy those a lot more when they're dubbed, because then it's just easier to watch the animation. I don't have to keep up with reading text and watching animation. So it is the slice of life, because I've always been a sucker for just good character stories. I love good character drama, good characters, just any kind of interesting, making the mundane not so mundane and making it interesting to watch.
Okay, you know what? That makes a whole lot of sense to me, because like 80% of the stuff you've ever recommended to me has always been in like that drama category. There's occasionally where you're interested into action, like you mentioned Digimon, because you and me have debated on Digimon numerous times, but most of the stuff like you've recommended to me over the years has been in that drama category, slice of life. The only time I would say you've actually veered into action was probably into things like Madoka Magica and like action anime like that.
Yeah, I
would say, because the other one, like I honestly could say I don't think horror is your thing.
Not really.
Horror's not your thing, and yeah, because I'm trying to think of like the generalized genres that we have. You know, we have action, we have drama, we have horror. And I just don't think horror is your thing. I don't think there's ever been an anime that you've recommended that was like scare your pants off.
No, maybe it's just lack of exposure, but I can't say I've seen any horror anime I particularly liked or found very good.
Yeah. Okay. So the next question I actually want to get into is again going into these genres, but just to kind of show like our love for it. What is your favorite in that, like your favorite anime in that genre that I'm not saying has shaped your life, but whenever you pick that DVD up again, whenever you pick up that Blu-ray again, you're just immediately filled with like the joy of why you love this thing in the first place, kind of thing. And for me, this is going to sound hammy, and actually Atlas, this is going to surprise you because it's not a mecha for me. I like mecha, don't get me wrong, but my favorite series of all time, and to a point where I religiously watch it every year, at least once every year, is shonen, and it's Yu Yu Hakusho. Ever since I saw that on the classic Saturday block of Adult Swim, I was hooked. And I'm talking more hooked on that than, say, Gundam, Dragon Ball Z, Cowboy Bebop, any of that stuff. And most of it's because of the characters, as well as the relationship between Yusuke and Keiko. Those are the things that connect me to it, and I have to watch it once a year just for the heck of it. I even have, because of the Shadow Blazer, my last DVD, my classic DVD, you know, when they had like 3 episodes per, is signed by Laura Bailey.
So you're a big fan.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know, as Alex will point out, I'm the president, vice president, and secretary of the Laura Bailey fan club. But that's how much I love that series. Vixen, what would you say is your favorite in the magical girl genre?
All right, so I know this is going to be very typical because I'm pretty sure this is an answer for quite a lot of people, but I guess the pinnacle for me of the magical girl genre would have to be, and I'd be wrong for saying otherwise, Sailor Moon.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yes.
Now, not necessarily the original series, actually, and there is a whole reasoning for that, but I really love Sailor Moon Crystal. That has become one of my favorite magical girl shows. And I just love it because it gets to the point very quickly, whereas the original series did not. And it's new and exciting, and I love it.
Well, and it's more of a manga adaptation, isn't it?
Yeah, it directly goes from the manga, which is something I love because I feel like there was so much filler in the original series, but in Crystal, it's very straight to the point, very accurate, and that's why I like it so much.
Okay. And I actually think you've recommended it to me once or twice to go pick up Sailor Moon Crystal. I just don't know if I can do it. I don't want to be that creepy guy on
Get
the block.
on that.
Nah, you're
doesn't
fine.
matter.
Adam. Just don't.
Oh, come on. You got Shadow watching magical girl shows. Why can't you?
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, but he keeps on making the joke that he's going to become a magical boy at some point. So.
Oh, God.
Have you actually ever signed that contract from Cube? He must be pissed at you right now.
Yeah, I think we need to make a video where I kind of follow up on that whole spiel, but it's just a matter of, like, I need somebody who can, like, puppeteer my big Cube plushie to make the video effective.
Just a random question. Where did you get the Cube plushie?
Oh, I think I picked it up at a con. It's either a con or I bought it online. I can't quite remember now.
Nice.
Okay. So we have Sailor Moon Crystal. We have Yu Yu Hakusho. Shadow Blazer. What is your pinnacle in the slice of life genre? I have a feeling I know what it is, but
Well, what is it? What do you think it is?
I want to say it starts with a K and it ends with an on.
Oh,
In terms of slice of life, yeah, I'd probably would say K-On!, but if you want to say straight up drama, which is also an aspect of slice of life shows, it kind of depends, arguments vary on it, but in terms of like a more serious drama, once again, this would fall into Dot Hack, and I know you could say, but isn't that primarily sci-fi, or isn't that primarily fantasy? Well,
It's action drama.
when I think of Sign, I think of it's a very cerebral, it's cyberpunk drama wrapped into an MMO storyline. And that's what I enjoy about it. It is very much a character-driven drama at the end of the day. And every time I've watched through that show, I just find something new to love about it and enjoy.
All right. Yeah, you know what? I would consider it because, like, to me, Dot Hack Sign is action drama because it does have action from time to time, but it's more of a drama because it does focus on the characters. It actually tries to develop them more than it does, level the characters. I mean, for crying out loud, you would expect in an MMO we'd be seeing level grinding, and you very, very little see that. And so, yeah, I actually agree with you. I think that's probably right in line with the drama one. Atlas, what would be your personification of, I think it was action, is what you were saying.
Action. Ooh, man. God, I could think of two right at the top of my head, but let me see. My number one favorite would have to be Dragon Ball Z, just due to the fact on how well it was done when it was coming into Toonami at the time. And, I just love the story and how the characters are and how the fights play out.
Now,
It's
just
like-
because I know that this question is going to get asked, where did you start?
Ooh, where did I start? Like, as it was coming out, or?
No. Like, what was the first saga you saw? Like, what was the...
I started definitely with the Frieza saga. That was because, it took place on a different planet. It wasn't just Earth. And there were a lot more fights within Frieza than just the actual the very first season of like the Vegeta arc, which to a lot of people it's one of their favorites. But if I would have to say, if you want the best season out of it, and I have to agree with a lot of people because I've been hearing it so many times throughout school, it's definitely the Cell saga.
Yeah, even I've heard that. I mean, but the other reason that I bring that up is because apparently there's like this weird segregation that happens in the Dragon Ball Z fandom. Because I've had this personally, because like I'd seen episodes here and there, but not enough to get me interested. The one that got me interested was the Boo saga. And apparently I'm the redheaded stepchild of the Dragon Ball Z fandom because I literally had somebody call me a Boo child. Can you tell me what that means?
It means Majin Buu may have given birth to you. I don't know.
I guess so. And it turned me into chocolate. And yeah, because that's where I started. That's where I was watching episodes left and right.
Yes.
Up until then, for me, it was like I was lucky if I caught it on the local UPN affiliate. So, all right. So you have the Frieza saga. So people can officially ask that. And then the other thing that I need to get into, because you've brought it up, is, and somebody's going to bring it up, I know it. Your thoughts so far on Super. Are you a fan, or like, are you loving it, or are you thinking Z's better?
I haven't really watched a whole lot of Super. I heard it starts out kind of bad at the beginning of it, but then it gets good as it keeps going. So, but I'm just gonna wait until they release Blu-rays because I don't watch TV anymore.
Yeah, because the dub is I think making its way to Adult Swim now. Or
I think it's already out. Yeah, it's been out for a couple weeks.
But I think they're only about 40 episodes in. So yeah, the first like 25 episodes are basically redoing Battle of the Gods and Resurrection.
Yeah, yes.
So at that point, yeah, you're not missing much. But
okay, good.
Okay. So the next question that I want to get into, because we could keep this going on, but I want to make sure that we keep things on point.
Yeah.
Is we all kind of acknowledge that we're either fans that started up in the 90s, the 80s, in the 2000s. But here's the thing. In any of those decades, anime was not as saturated as part of the general pop culture as it is today. It slowly made its way as the years went on, but now, like, seriously, it's commonplace to see a random boy or girl going to school and having something anime related on their backpack. Whereas when I was growing up, that was a rarity, and everyone was like, how on earth did you get that? Because there's nowhere locally that sells anime stuff. So at that point, my next question to you guys is, with it being so saturated, are you happy that there are so many more ways to be able to watch anime? Because, I mean, now we have things like Crunchyroll, whereas back in the day, like, you had to hope that your local video rental store had something new. Do you like the fact that it's so much more available, or do you kind of wish that we were back in the olden days and being able to have that rarity and kind of that shine to you as a geek, if that makes sense? And let's go ahead and start off with the Shadow Blazer himself before I get into my answer. Would you rather have this thing as saturated as it is right now in the public's mind's eye, or would you rather go back to where it was more of a niche thing?
Yeah, I'm thrilled that it's more open, it's more exposed, it's more out there. I remember from the early 2000s, right? If I wanted to watch an anime, my options were generally I either had to know somebody, which was in high school was a little easier, but I either had to get kind of a recommendation from a friend, or in some cases I would just set my VCR to record at night and record like Adult Swim and just see what would fall in and what I could catch. And that worked like maybe a couple times, because usually it'd be already in the middle of the season, so it's like I have no idea what's going on, but that's just what I did. Or another option for me was on demand when we got like digital cable through Comcast. You know, that's how I experienced a lot of anime, was just through on demand, which was a service mostly used by the Anime Network, and the Anime Network was a huge like client of ADV Films, so it was a lot of ADV Film titles in there. So these days, Crunchyroll, through services like Crunchyroll or Hulu or Netflix, it's just never been easier to watch and experience so many kinds of anime. So I love it. I absolutely love just how broad the market is now.
Okay. Vixen, where are you standing with it? Would you rather have things the way that they are right now, where it's so saturated, it's so commonplace to be able to get your hands on anime, being able to talk to somebody about anime, or would you rather have had back in the day where it was more of a niche thing, where you and your personal circle of friends were the only ones that knew about it?
All right, so I have two sides on this. I'm for and against Let me explain. All right, so I'm very happy that anime is now a very normal thing. It's very commonplace now. You can get it practically anywhere you go online. I'm very happy about that, and I'm glad that more people are getting into anime. However, and I don't know if you guys will agree with me, I do feel that now, because like anime is slowly starting to become the norm, I feel like it's losing its special value that it had when I was first getting into it. So like, you know, you felt like you were into something that not many people would understand, and you felt kind of special being that person that watched anime, and it wasn't very commonplace. And you know, trying to find it for me was the best part of it. It was looking for something that you really wanted, and I don't know, it just, in my opinion, I do like the fact that it is getting the revenue that it is, and that all the artists and the people that are making the manga and the anime are getting the support that they definitely deserve. But I also feel it's kind of becoming a problem where it's losing its specialty that it had when I was that young. You know, when you were all doughy-eyed and you'd see an anime and it's the best thing you've ever seen and no one else knew who it was or what it was. And like, yeah, that's just the way I think about it. I don't know if any of you agree with me on that or not, but
No, I actually can see it from both kinds of perspectives. And I would actually dare say I'm given the argument that you just made, I'm kind of there with you. But in my own way, I'm not. And the main reason that I'm not is because, I'm a child of the 80s anime. So again, around that time, what was making it to the States was either very hyper-violent or hypersexual. And so at that point, it was such, like, even in my local community, it was such a hot button issue that, oh my gosh, anime is going to corrupt the minds of children and all that. And what made that even worse was because it was animation and people were literally discerning that since it was animated, it was for kids, a lot of things like hentai and weird stuff that the kids should never see was making its way into the hands of kids. And so at that point, I'm glad that things are as saturated as they are now, because now we have stuff that's extremely, like, tame to some extent. You still have the weird stuff that happens every now and then, but you have more stuff that's tamer and thus more relatable in some aspects. I mean, I can still remember my dad, when he would watch anime, he was always very lost. He hated the animation style. But as things went on, he actually started to have series that he was legitimately interested in. And so it wasn't just that whole, this is hyperly violent and I don't need to see all this blood. Instead, it was like, oh my gosh, there's actually some good characters in there, kind of thing. So I could see where you're at on it, Vixen. But in my case, it's like, I'm kind of happy that things are the way they are, so that we don't have to get basically the tripe that Japan didn't want.
Of course.
Oh, don't get me wrong. Of course, I love the fact that it's populated now and it's very popular. I'm meaning it more on the basis of, like, for an example, conventions. They're getting very packed now because obviously anime is more of the in thing, and it's becoming, as the kids would say at school, cool. And I feel like, I don't know, I just feel like back then, even though anime was hard to come by, it made me feel like that was a special part of my personality, that I was into this thing and that not many people understood it. That's where I'm kind of coming from.
No,
but yeah,
I'm
glad everything is the way it is.
I totally relate to that, just because, you know, I was the geek on campus, and I didn't. And here's the thing: I was the only one that didn't care, kind of thing. So, but that's one of those things that made me unique. Is if people wanted to know this stuff about, say, like Digimon was getting popular, there was a good chance I was going to get questions about it because I was the Digimon freak, right? Kind of thing. So I could see that. I could see that perspective too.
Now, see, for me, I've always been a really shy person. It's very hard to me to connect to people and just talk to people that I don't know or haven't had the time to really understand. So when I was in high school, I built up the courage to launch my own anime club. So for me, that was really... That was great, and that's because of the exposure anime's had. So for me, I guess I'd say I'm on the opposite. I can totally see your point of view, Vixen, but I'd have to say just because of my personality, I'm on the opposite end, saying that just anime becoming so much more broad and widely accepted has helped me be able to connect with a lot more people than I could have otherwise.
Yeah, I mean that's another thing I'm really proud of, is that now there are anime clubs and there are places you can go, and because of course we are populated with more geeks such as us, that we have more chance of finding friends who are into that area. And I completely understand from where you're coming from, and I know that it was just a small gripe I had with that, but other than that, I just think it's amazing what the anime community has done for people. I mean, it's definitely made people come out of their shell more, made them more confident as a person, and I think conventions are just great for meeting people. So I do really agree from your point of view.
I have to agree.
Shadow.
You know, conventions, believe it or not, like I've seen YouTube videos of all these great people, you know, really doing their best to support the industry, whether it be cosplaying or buying merchandise, going to panels. And you know, it's really hard, but don't forget that there are people that will go to conventions and not support the industry. You know?
Oh, no.
There's a major difference.
I like, it's actually a pet peeve of mine that I'm not saying that because you go to a con and you do whatever you're gonna do. Okay,
Of course.
And I completely get this concept, but it's actually always been a pet peeve of mine that specific subsects actually will stay in complete isolation.
They will, yes.
And one in particular that actually irritated me was I went to Salt Lake Comic-Con a couple of years ago, and there was actually a little subsect that happened in the vendors area of dedicated cosplayers. And we're talking like awesome cosplay. These guys had worked their butts off. But when people would go up to them to get a picture, like one of them was Tifa from Final Fantasy VII. So at that point, like, you wanted to have that because that was awesome. And it was actually a really cool Advent Children cosplay. The group actually would charge you for it. Like, they didn't have a vendor's license or anything like that. They charge you. But when you weren't interacting with them, they would be sitting back in the background taking pictures of themselves. And
wow.
So at that point, it's like, that sucks because there's so many other people out there that have amazing cosplays themselves, and they're more than willing to come out here and be part of the action and embrace the people coming up and going, I love your cosplay. Can I take a picture of it? Things like that. And so that always kind of bugged me when people do that, because a con experience is to get involved with as many people as you possibly can, or at least that's my perspective of it.
Yeah, I agree too.
So yeah, it's one of those things where it's like a double-edged sword, because just because it is saturated now doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be like the best of both worlds or anything like that.
Oh God, no.
And frankly, like, we could have this debate for months.
We
on
could.
End. In fact,
we could.
I could actually bring you guys on for a separate podcast just about like this in particular.
Oh yeah.
So the next question that I actually want to get into is, this is gonna sound silly, but anime fans do this, okay? Like, here's the thing. Gamers will do this. Any particular subsection will do this. And that is follow creators. Okay? And the reason I say that is because a gamer who is a Metal Gear Solid fan through and through is following every single thing Hideo Kojima does. Okay? I'm not talking to the point of creepy. But when they have a new game announced, a new movie, then they're probably going to be the ones that go and watch it. And so my next question is actually, who is that creator to you? Like, you will go and see whatever they have going at that particular moment. Like when it gets released. For me, it's easy enough to point out, and that is Hayao Miyazaki. He's earned enough cred with me that I will actually try out a Ghibli movie, whether or not I think it's going to be good or bad. In particular, like, my absolute favorite is The Wind Rises from him, and actually, in my opinion, is his magnum opus. Like, I know a lot of people want to say that Nausicaa is it, or Princess Mononoke is it. I actually would say The Wind Rises is it, because it symbolizes more of his personality and what he was trying to accomplish. So let's open it up to you guys. What, out of the anime creators, who is the one creator that you will follow everything that he does, and the second that it comes like close to you, you'll try and go and see it? Let's start with the Shadow Blazer, because I have a feeling I know that answer too, but I'll let him answer.
Do I just have to pick one?
I'll let you have two, but
Aw.
you know I don't want to have too many here.
Cheating.
Cheating the system there, Shadow.
Tough. I followed a lot of creators over the years, and you know, I'd say at least one that is still active anyway, because one I've followed is pretty much retired and dead, but one I've not dead.
Wow, this
literally.
podcast got really somber.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
not quite literally dead just yet, but it's a long story in itself. But one I'm still following very, very actively, of course, is Yuki Kaijura. I've been a long-time fan of her. Once again, everything comes back to Dot Hack with me, but that was the soundtrack that made me fall in love with her music, and I've watched pretty much most of the anime she's written and composed for directly. If she's just doing a theme song, I'll check out the song, but when she's actually handling the full soundtrack, then yes, I'll check out the anime itself. There's probably one or two I haven't seen yet, and I've even checked out Xenosaga 2 and 3, which she did the music for.
Mm-hmm. Did you check out the other one that I recommended to you that I think was her, but I couldn't ever confirm it? World of Final Fantasy?
That was not her. Plus that's not what you recommended it for. You thought it was you thought the animation was done by the people who did Monica Magica. It's not. I checked.
Okay, I wasn't sure about that, but I wanted to bring it to you because it sounded so familiar. Okay, so Atlas, who would be the creator that you would absolutely go and see whatever he or she brings out?
Oh my god, I would have to agree with you, Drek. It would have to be Miyazaki. The films like Spirited Away and Princess Mononoke, Castle in the Sky. A lot of those films were really good. I loved the animation art style for them. I would follow him anywhere he goes. I really would. It's just really amazing. Really, really amazing.
All right, and Vixen, who would that creator be for you?
I'd have to say it's quite a small creator not many people have heard of unless you know the series I'm about to talk about, which is Yana Tabasso, who created Black Butler, of course.
I wondered if Black Butler was going to come into play here today.
And guess what? It did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't want to talk about it, but Yana Tabasso is the creator that I would follow to the moon and back, preferably, because her work is so interesting and her characters are so well thought out. I mean, don't get me wrong, she has hiccups, but she's very interesting because no one actually knows what she looks like, and she's only known as this devil-like character, which is kind of ironic given the Black Butler series within itself. But every time she updates her blog or does something on Twitter, I'm there to see what she is doing, and she, for me, makes amazing work and also amazing manga, in my opinion.
Refresh my memory, like when you and me did the interview a couple of months ago, did we actually talk about, I think Trinity Blood got brought up, but I couldn't remember if we had a full-on conversation about it. I couldn't remember if you were a fan of it.
We did talk a tiny bit about it, but it was more so you getting me on the side of watching it.
Yeah, because it's another one of those series that I, again, recommend, and I can't remember the creator's name off the top of my head, but sadly, that was his only anime that he was able to adapt. And it was because he sadly passed away of cancer right after Trinity Blood was made. It's one of those things that I still just think that series is beautiful. Not because of that, but because of the design that he actually put towards it. It's one of my absolute favorite vampire anime out there. And I have no problem recommending it. I just took things to a somber tone. I'm sorry, guys.
No, it's all good.
It's fine.
The next thing that I want to get into is... What was that?
I need to eat real quick. You guys go on ahead real quick. I'm going to mute the mic, but the audio is still going to be recording, so that way you won't get mixed up. It won't take that long. Like 10 minutes will do.
Okay. And then we'll hold off your question on that, because this next topic I think is going to take a little bit of time, and it's simply because, well, I'm about to trigger people. Because if we don't address this, then it's going to be brought up. The next question is very simple. Anime film adaptations, and I'm talking anime to live action adaptations.
Okay, wait, I got the answer right there. I don't give a shit about them. They suck. I can care less. That's my answer. Okay, I'm gonna go eat. I'll be right back.
considering Atlas is hashtag triggered. So yeah, our thoughts on the fact that there are so many live action adaptations that are happening these days. I mean, for crying out loud, a couple of months ago, we just barely saw the Scarlett Johansson Ghost in the Shell that came out. There's still talks of a Akira movie that is going to be made, as well as the live action Cowboy Bebop series that's going to happen. Well, we're thinking it's going to happen. It's got a writer, but that's about it. What are our thoughts on the fact that this is happening? Like the fact that we're getting all these live action adaptations. Do we like or hate the fact that this is happening to these franchises? My opinion is very simple, and it's probably going to be the hashtag triggered one. But I really do believe if a series is awesome, it's a lightning strike, and lightning doesn't strike the same place twice. And so at that point, to recreate Akira into live action when it's already been done fairly well in anime, I don't know if you're going to get the level of success that Hollywood film companies are banking money on, kind of thing. And my example that I would give would be the live action Attack on Titan and Ghost in the Shell, both highly anticipated properties that everybody was so excited for. And when they came out, everybody went, I don't know if I want this anymore. As being examples of bad examples in this case, where you shouldn't probably go down that road. Vixen, where do you stand on that?
To be polite, and very blunt, I fucking hate them.
Okay.
I'm going to give a good example, all right? I personally think that they are ruining the anime that we cherish and that we love, and I just have this big problem with them. Don't get me wrong, I like the idea, but it's when they put that idea through and when they actually make the product where it gets fucked up. Like, yeah. We've seen the Death Note live actions, okay? Don't even get me started on the Black Butler live action. The Dragon Ball Z live action.
Is there one? Is there a Black Butler live action?
It's called Kurositsuji the movie, and they are so bad that they didn't even bother to give Sebastian a wig. They just gave him long hair, and he, honest to God, looks like a Japanese Michael Jackson. Not even lying. You can go and look yourself. I am not lying. Go look. I dare you to. If you have the brain, do it. Look. He looks like Michael Jackson, and don't get me wrong, I like the fighting scenes. That's all good and well with me, but I feel like live actions change so much of the original story that it's not really a live action of anything, because it's kind of taking its own look on things, and I really don't like that. Like, they made Ciel a female in it, and oh god, it's this cacophony of effed up, and I swear down will never watch a live action again. Even if I was paid $1 million to watch one, I would not do it. I'm sorry, I hate them.
See, and here's the thing, like, I actually wasn't really going to watch the live action Attack on Titan. It was actually that guy over there and my cohorts on the Geek News podcast that drug me to it. And I'm happy that I went, but at the same time, like, this franchise that was supposed to be taken super seriously because it's post-apocalypse and everything's going to hell, we all were laughing hysterically throughout them. We couldn't stop.
Don't take it seriously. They never take a live action seriously, and that's the problem I have. It's like one big joke to them. You know, like when you're in school and you tell people that you love Pokemon and they'll laugh at you and make a joke and pretend to be the characters to take the piss. It's like that, but in live action. Like, animators are giving the live action people a script and saying, there you go, do that, make this all, human. And then they're just like, okay, we're just going to fuck the whole thing up, and hopefully it will sell.
Exactly.
That's the one thing.
And even better, then we get the announcement 2 years down the road, because, like, there's already talk of, since you brought up Pokemon, there's already talk about, like, either a live-action Pokemon movie or a Pokemon Go movie.
There's no.
I'll say this: God does not exist.
What was that, Vixen?
I was going to say, if there is a God, he does not exist.
And what were you saying, Alex?
I'd say there's no talk. They're doing the Pokemon movie. It's happening.
Yeah. The live action Pokemon thing is happening, and I'm just not sure about the Pokemon Go movie. Because that one's been early concept. Alex, where do you stand on live action adaptations?
I don't know anymore. I've always been kind of like remotely optimistic that maybe somewhere there's that one property that will just fit the mold perfectly, but it's like still have yet to see it. I thought, Ghost in the Shell, that might actually work as live action. It might actually click a lot better than, say, something like Speed Racer or Dragon Ball, which were way too cartoonish to be properly adapted into a live action movie. And, well, lo and behold, it just turned out to be kind of a meh film at the end of the day. And at the same time, I've watched other projects get proposed and then fall into development hell. I don't know if it could ever work, truly. I've even tackled one myself. I wrote a script, a spec script for a live action anime. Will it happen? I'm doubtful because it's not a well-known property to warrant a big budget. So I'd say we're just kind of, it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't. You could go with a lesser known property that might be easier enough to adapt, but then you're probably not going to get the audience draw because it's not well known. But you could also pick the big properties like Ghost in the Shell or Attack on Titan and fail it miserably.
Well, and I do know that you're adamantly following the Battle Angel Alita live action adaptation that's happening.
Yeah.
And you seem like you want to be optimistic about it.
Yeah, and a lot of that's because of James Cameron's involvement. I figured if anybody could do a live action anime justice, it might be James Cameron. I'm a little disappointed that he's had to take the sidestep and give it to Robert Rodriguez, but we'll still see how it turns out at the end of the day.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess what we're aiming around, aside from Vixen, like some of us are trying to remain hopeful that maybe these adaptations will work, but in a lot of cases, I think me and Vixen are kind of in the same viewpoint as like, we keep on saying that, but then we have these just train wrecks come through.
Yeah.
And it's
just like, how many chances do they need until they can provide us with a good live action? Like, how much longer are you going to say, okay, this was bad, hopeful for the next one? How long are we going to say that until we all realize that it's just not happening?
Exactly.
Good question, yeah.
I mean, like, another example that just barely came to my mind was, it's very well known. I'm a Gundam fan. What a lot of people don't realize is that there actually is a live action adaptation of Gundam called G Savior. And, it was so many levels of bad. And I sat through it, and I want those 2 hours back. I really do. Because me and my best friend who got me into Gundam in the first place, we literally camped out an FYE to get our copy of it because we didn't know how many they were going to have. And we watched that thing, and I want to say we had like an angry video game nerd reaction. We wanted to burn that thing. I had to wait an additional 10 plus years until Guillermo del Toro did Pacific Rim to get an actual giant robot movie in the States that was good, kind of thing. I know you haters are out there, and I don't care. Pacific Rim was awesome.
Who could hate Pacific Rim? That was a great movie.
It was great. It was hammy, and I love it. And I'm looking forward to Pacific Rim 2.
And it's got that awesome theme song.
Exactly. Yes. So the next question that I have here, wow, I'm like in geek news mode right now. I keep on saying next story. The next question that I got is also part of adaptations, but we also have to address this kind of elephant in the room. We have these live action movie adaptations that are happening, but we also have this new generation of animation in the States, in Europe, in other parts of Asia that are now being spurred on by anime and have strict inspirations from them. The biggest example that anybody would consider would probably be Avatar: The Last Airbender, Legend of Korra, and even Voltron Legendary Defender, all from the same creators, who have all admitted like a lot of their inspiration came from old school anime. There's numerous other series that we could bring up, and those series are starting to become more and more prevalent in society. How do we feel about these? Are they helping or hurting the cause of anime in your mind's eye? For me, because I'm an Avatar fan and I'm a Korra fan and I'm a Voltron fan especially, I think that they've done good things, but as with any good thing, with great power comes great responsibility, to quote Uncle Ben, and you could easily screw it up, kind of thing. Thankfully, we haven't come across too many creators who have been inspired by anime who've screwed things up, but I'm still waiting for that shoe to drop, if that makes sense. What about you, Vixen? Where do you stand on adaptations, inspirational adaptations like Avatar: The Last Airbender, Legend of Korra, stuff like that?
I actually have a good adaptation. A series that I used to watch when I was a little younger called Totally Spies.
Oh yeah,
and,
that had a lot of anime inspiration.
Yeah, and I was actually the reason I found out that it was inspired by anime was because I was watching 107 Facts About, and like I used to watch it avidly when I was a kid, and I really enjoyed it actually. I thought it was refreshing. I really like the fact that people are taking in like anime as a collective thing and being like, okay, so people really like animation in this way, really like anime. So maybe if we put a hint of that in our show, it would go really well. And, you know, it caters to more fan base that way, if you think about it. Because it obviously caters to the anime fans, and then you've got the normies that it also tends to regulate to. So I think it's good all in all.
Okay. What about you, Shadow Blazer?
Oh, I think it's neither good nor bad. It's all just kind of there. I remember watching some of Avatar: The Last Airbender, and I'm like, okay, I can see what they're going for, but it just never felt quite the same. So, but I figured this will probably be as close as we ever get to Westerners kind of breaking in and collaborating in the into the anime industry. How little did I know back then, but I guess I'm a bit more of the opinion, cut out the middleman and collaborate with a Japanese studio as opposed to trying to emulate the style, because I guess just the emulation never looked quite right to me. It always looked like an imitation to me, but I don't think it really hurts anything, nor do I think it helps. I think it's just kind of it's there. If you like it, great. I know there's been a lot of people who love Avatar: The Last Airbender. You know, I've loved shows like My Life as a Teenage Robot, which took a bit of anime homages, but I wouldn't call that like an Avatar-style imitation. So...
Well, you bring that one up. You're going to have to correct me on this. Was it who was it that animated that?
That was Frederator.
Okay, I was wondering, because like the other one that I would bring up would be from Butch Hartman. Is a lot of people might think, oh, you're talking about Fairly Odd Parents. No, I'm not. Danny Phantom, I think, takes a lot of inspiration.
Danny Phantom was a big one.
Because a lot of, if you look at some of the villains, they are very anime inspired. So in that case, I think that those have actually been a good thing, because now you have this brand new audience of kids who are fans of shows like Danny Phantom that can then go into, oh, well, I can transition into this show because it's very similar to what I used to grow up with as a kid. Kind of thing. Atlas, do we have you back? We do not. Atlas, you bastard. Okay, we'll bring him up to speed when we get there. The other thing too that I guess needs to be brought into this, because we've been bringing up TV and all that, is video games. Video games have started to also take a major anime influence, not just from Japanese developers, but from American developers. I mean, just look at this year's E3. How many things looked very anime-esque in their appearance? I mean, I can name like at least 10 games off the top of my hand that looked very inspired by anime, if not directly just being an adaptation for an anime. Are we cool with the game adaptations that we've gotten over the years?
I'd say it's I don't know, maybe I'm a bit on the opposite side compared to where I said with TV, because I really loved, but I haven't seen that many like American games that like borrow the anime style comparatively. I just wish we'd get more anime games over here, but we never seem to do. So, because I love the Shantae series, that definitely emulates anime style, and I love it. But, so I guess I just feel like I'm a bit on the opposite of what I said when it came to the TV. I'm all for American games. I don't think I've seen that many really emulate the style, at least not like a true cel-shaded anime style.
Well, and speaking of Shantae, I mean, I just barely brought this to you, I think, a week ago, where they have a new RPG that's been crowdfunded called Indigenous, that's from the same people who made Skullgirls. Skullgirls, another game that has taken heavy inspiration from anime. But now you have this Indigenous RPG that, again, takes anime influences, but now you have characters like Shantae showing up in that game as like bonus characters.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and, there is Long Live the Queen, which was made by a British developer, so there you go, I think for some reason, maybe because I think games actually go more indicative of the style compared to the TV shows that just try to emulate the style, but still have, like, the very typical American production procedures, much more fluent, much more stringent animation design. It's just like when you watch the anime, you do kind of get used to the limited animation that Japan does animate their styles with, that when you watch an imitator that doesn't do that, when you watch an imitator that makes it in a very more traditional Western animation style, it just looks weird.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Vixen? How do you feel about video game adaptations? Like, are they stepping too far, or are you happy in that particular genre taking it over?
I would have to say, with actual developers, I am very much the same as Shadow, where I kind of don't really see enough of it that I can fully judge, and I don't really think they're emulating the exact style of anime. However, indie developers, I think, are doing far better in that area.
They are. Yeah, because
I feel like indie developers really, because obviously they're not exactly well-known developers, and a lot of them are very much into anime anyway, and they do very good games. I mean, I'm just going to give an example of a few horror games like The Hanged Man, for instance, as a RPG horror game, Paranoiac. There are so many good games that are very anime styled, and I think that the indie community does it a lot better than any real creator ever could. That's just my opinion.
Then you would say like the AAA developer is what you mean?
Yes, the AAA developers.
Yeah, and I would agree with that, because a lot of the anime inspired stuff that's come out of indie developers has actually enticed me a lot more over the years. I mean, we brought up Way Forward, Shantae. That's one that I can honestly say is very well inspired. I would also say the Castlevania series has also had a well-rooted source in anime inspiration, and it's translated over into Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. Obviously, Mega Man. You have to bring up Mega Man because the Blue Bomber has a very anime-esque appearance.
Yeah, well, to those games' credit, though, those are Japanese properties developed in Japan first.
So you have those, but then you also have, like I said, the creators of Skullgirls, who are also very anime-inspired. That it's also been very awesome for them, or to see them come up with things like Indigenous, because I wasn't really big on the Skullgirls property. Or, and I can't even believe I'm bringing this up, because I also think that the US dating sims have benefited from this concept as well. I mean, for how long did we see I can't even remember what the name of it was, but the normal Boots cast, all the guy cast were that dating sim. Like, you could date Pro Jared, and you could date Gerard. So that has to be brought up too. So the next thing that we need to get into is like, where do we hope to see anime go in the future? Like what series do we hope, say, gets revived or gets additional stuff or new ideas that you would like to see from creators? Where would you like to see the industry go in, say, like the next 2 to 3 years? And let's go ahead and start things off with Vixen. Where would you like to see the anime? Where would you like to see anime as a genre, as an industry, go in the next 2 or 3 years?
At the moment, I think they're doing really great, but I think in the next 2 or 3 years, what I would really like to see is a lot more fan appreciation for the old stuff. You know, all the stuff that's out of print, stuff you can't get anymore. I know that you and Shadow probably have a lot of series that you would like to see redubbed or revamped to better quality, just so you can have that. And I think that's something that they should really focus toward in the future, is maybe bringing back good old series that maybe didn't get the chance when it was you know, when it was older back then, and like giving it new life and maybe making it a bit more popular because of that. That's what I would personally really like to see, is a lot of old series with either new dubs or new animation and just revamped, because I feel like there's not a lot of that. I mean, it is around, sure it's around, but I feel like it needs to be more, especially because there are a lot of shows that we cling to.
Yeah.
Like our childhood selves are attached to it. So yeah,
I would agree with that. And in some cases, I don't have a problem with, say, touching up the animation and bringing it up to digital. Like, say, this is a bad example, but like the Dragon Ball Kai treatment, where, you have that classic animation, but they bring it all up and then they put it with the current Funimation voice actors. And it's still the thing that you love, but it's just updated to be able to look better. One company that I'll especially give credit to in the last few years is Right Stuff. And it's simply because, yes, they are my Gundam dealers. They are, but here's the thing: they aren't just that anymore, because I've literally gotten, I think my Blu-ray of Bebop is from them. Outlaw Star and Big O are actually on their way for me right now, because they got those properties, so that I could have those in Blu-ray. So I'm just so thankful to Right Stuff for being able to rescue these properties that I saw on Adult Swim as a kid and be able to share them with whomever I want to share them with. What about you, Shadow Blazer? Where do you want to see anime go in like the next 2 to 3 years?
It's pretty deep, though. First of all, Outlaw Star and Bebop are Funimation licenses.
Right. Sorry.
So, yes, praise be to Right Stuff. They have definitely... I do like Right Stuff, because they do sometimes pick up the niche titles that others... And that's, I guess, what I'd like to see, is just maybe a bit of an expansion of the niche titles that have been either overlooked from previous licensors in previous years, and not have to cost an arm and a leg. I get the marketing risks of licensing those stuff, but I appreciate it when companies do go out of their way to do that. Funimation just licensed the past year an old World War II propaganda anime, right? There's not exactly a huge market value for that, but I think that goes to show you Funimation, of course, their business, they want to make money, but they also very much appreciate the medium that they work with. And that's just what I like. So I hope more companies will consider doing stuff like that. Not saying they have to release every small little indie title under the sun, but it's just nice, because, I mean, we've had the whole Animator Expo thing that's come out of Studio Kara and Fuji TV to really showcase a lot of up-and-coming young animation talents and kind of, again, promote some new life and new blood in the industry again. So, and it's just like, there's always like these interesting titles, but that, because they're just so small and contained, that they don't really get picked up for international release. So I just like to see something like that.
Exactly. The other thing too, I would also like to see in the next 2 to 3 years, and this is probably unlikely because I don't know how often it's actually happened, but over the last few years, we've been seeing a lot of reboots, so to speak. And by reboots, I mean like more to...
Okay, I'm back.
Accurate. Okay, there you go. You missed a lot of questions, but that's okay, Atlas, because we're going to bring you up to speed.
Sounds good.
As we go along. But another thing that I've seen that I've liked is more anime that try to stay true to the manga, and thus we get a whole new variation of it that is its own animal. So the examples that I would give would be Full Metal Alchemist versus Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, which is more in tune with the manga. Sailor Moon and Sailor Moon Crystal, where one had to have those filler arcs, the other stayed true to the manga. And I'd actually like to see more of these adaptations happen, especially in the shonen genre, because there's a lot of times where they have to fill things in because the artist hasn't necessarily finished that arc, so to speak. So I'm talking like a more manga-driven form of, say, Naruto, or I don't know if One Piece is actually... I think One Piece has had that problem too. But I would like to see some of these other adaptations just to see if we would get just to see how different the story would be if you had those adaptations. What do you guys think about that? Would that be a good idea or a bad idea?
It depends, I guess.
Yeah, I have to agree. It depends.
I mean, I've complained in a few reviews sometimes that I feel like sometimes anime become just slaves to their source material and they turn out the worse for it because they don't try to adapt and expand for their new medium. They just try to be the source material in an animated form and they suffer for it. So, and there's been anime I've liked that have gone off their manga paths, but I think they turned out pretty just as well because I felt like they at least tried something. They tried to do something interesting with it and not just have to worry about, are we following exactly each chapter? And I get it, there can be anime that unfortunately go too far off the manga and there's no likeness resembling. It's a balancing act. You gotta strike the balance of being true to the medium that you came from and appeasing those fans and appeasing what is good about that in the first place, which is why you're adapting it, besides obvious money, of course. But you also gotta be willing to make those changes because you are working in a new medium.
Yeah, exactly. What about you, Atlas? Where would you like to actually see anime go in like the next 2 to 3 years?
Dude, I couldn't even come up with an answer if I even thought about it because that is a tough question to come across. I would like a lot of anime to stay true to their manga counterparts, but it's really hard to do that sometimes because an anime series can only be either 12 to 13 episodes or 15 to 25 episodes long. It depends on the series unless they could expand it because not only that, a lot of shows have arcs that don't expand an entire season. An arc could expand 3 episodes to about 14 and it would still be known as like the first season if they add a newer arc. But I would like to see a lot more anime definitely stay true to their manga counterparts, even though I don't read manga, but I would have to agree with a lot of people. So It works.
All right. And that actually wraps up the questions, but we're not quite done just yet.
I was going to say, what other questions did you come across?
Well, because you...
Oh, wait, hold on. I didn't go.
Yeah, go
I
for
don't
it,
think
Vix.
I said
Oh,
anything.
yeah, that's right. We didn't... So where would you like to see anime go in like the next 2 to 3 years, Vixen?
Well, my personal opinion, going off of what Shadow said, actually, where he was like, it shouldn't necessarily stick to the manga and they should experiment. I think from my point of view, like Spice and Wolf is a good example from the source material.
Love Spice and Wolf.
Standard. They changed a lot in the anime, and I think it's really a testament and depends on what works for you personally. In my opinion, like whether you think it'll work or not, it really is up to. I believe it's just up to the source material itself. Like coming from someone who reads manga and watches anime, it depends on the source material and how good it is. That's just my opinion.
So you would say it depends not just on the source material itself, but also maybe on the viewer itself, on whether or not this is going to be something that they're going to want to get into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And plus, it opens up new ideas for creators to expand the series more, maybe take it into a whole new direction. You know, there's a lot of companies that can do that, and not only that, it also costs money to do it too. So they got to think about that option as well.
All right, so Atlas, let's bring you up to speed. So really the only thing you missed was we were talking about live action movie adaptations.
I've already given my honest answer about that. Sorry.
Yeah, but then we branched into like inspirations in TV where it's not necessarily they're from the anime itself, but they're inspired by anime. Say like Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh yes.
Korra, things like that. How do you feel like those affect the industry as a whole? Do they benefit or do they hurt it?
I would say they benefit it because it's like Avatar as an example, the animation's really good. It's the characters are just so interesting to learn about and what they're going through, and I really enjoyed the show while I was still kind of growing up. But I mean, everyone has their own opinion on what they think is going to hurt the anime industry or not. But and there's another show that's not known as like an anime per se, but it is on Crunchyroll, and this was made by a guy named Monty and the show is called Ruby. And
yes.
And it looks anime, but it's not really anime at all.
No, it's from Rooster Teeth, isn't it?
It's from Rooster Teeth. And, I like that show too because, I like it where it was going. I love the art style, and you got to give Monty Ohm credit before he passed away. And, it's amazing what in the West, what we are trying to do to not like to copy the Japanese per se, but, we want to make it good for everyone that they can enjoy and, just be happy about that we did it,
All right.
Yeah.
And then just to kind of go into the last little bit, which was basically like, how do you feel like video games and anime adaptations have worked out? Because we already have lots of awesome showing from the indie market, because we have Shantae from Way Forward. We have the creators of Skullgirls now making a new RPG called Indigenous. How do you feel that the game reception is working with this? Is it going well, or is it going badly?
With me, I really don't care how they make it as long as it's the gameplay is really good and the story is good. And, I love, when I was younger, with Shadow, I'm pretty sure he'll agree. I loved the dot hack games very much. I loved the original 4, and I also loved GU. And,
then you're excited then.
Oh, I'm always excited,
Well, because you did hear about the GU remastered.
Yes, I did hear about it. I hope it comes out well, and I hope it does get it. Shadow, do we know if it's getting a dub?
I haven't heard yet.
Because I know when they did like the remake or whatever for the PS3, it was only released in Japan. So yeah, that's the thing that pisses me off, is that when there's a new dot hack, it's like, oh yeah, we're not going to bring it to the West. Unfortunately, we don't have the money, and Ben Namco has other projects going on. It's like, what the fuck, man? Come on, give me a dot hack game. I want to play it so bad.
Okay. All right, and so the last thing that I kind of want to end things on, because this is actually going to be a new feature of the show. We won't do it every time, but for anime, it felt appropriate to bring this in, which is, I'm going to call this segment "Have You Seen It?" And it's a rough title, but basically we're celebrating this year 100 years of anime. Just how insane is that? 100 years anime has been around. And there's been amazing creators that have come out in that time. So we're going to wrap things up with basically, I'm going to name a creator in anime history, and you basically tell me if you've seen a work from them, like a yes or a no, and if so, what was it? Or even like if you've seen multiple, you can name your favorite out of it. I actually had a number of these creators. I'm going to lower the list a little bit because we don't have too much time. But let's go ahead and do this. It's game show time, everybody. I hope everybody's enjoying this.
Oh, God.
So the first
I'm not going to be good at this, I will warn you.
The first one that I have to bring up is obviously the godfather of anime himself, Osamu Tezuka. And I'm gonna intervene here too. So I have seen Tezuka anime, and the first one that I actually ever saw was Metropolis. I didn't like it.
Oh. Same here. I've seen it. Didn't care for it.
Yeah, I was more of a fan of like Astro Boy and Cyborg 009. So, Atlas, Osamu Tezuka. Have you seen something from him?
Oh my God. Fuck.
See, that's the hard thing.
That's the hard part. Yeah, because like, oh, man.
Yeah, he's done so much stuff.
Part of me wants to say like Harlock is his, but I don't think it is.
I don't know if it was Harlock or was it Astro Boy that he did?
Astro Boy he did.
Yeah, because Astro Boy I did see, and that was a pretty good show.
All right. Shadow Blazer, have you seen something from Osamu Tezuka?
I think I've seen a handful of stuff by him. I think I've seen Cyborg 009. I think I've seen
it too.
And
it was on Cartoon Network, dude. So.
I think I saw like part of Metropolis, like not all the way through. So I've seen some of his stuff, but I couldn't name a favorite because I don't think I've really watched that much.
Okay. Vixen, have you seen something from Osamu Tezuka?
I have to say the only thing is Astro Boy.
Yeah, Astro Boy.
That's the thing. See, a lot of his stuff is very early on, and so like the most hardcore of hardcore have seen it, but not everybody has. The next one, and I'm going to expand this one because it's not just whether or not you've seen stuff he's done, but also stuff that he's been in, or at least some kind of derivative of him has been in it. Hideaki Anno.
Yes.
Go ahead, Shadow Blazer.
Of course, I've seen Neon Genesis Evangelion. It's, I guess, to say really the only thing I've really enjoyed by him, because I've never seen, besides Shin Godzilla, I guess, I've never seen any of his live action stuff, and I recall watching Her Circumstances, which was a rom-com he did before he walked off the project anyway, and I didn't really like it.
All right. Vixen, have you seen anything from Hideaki?
Yes.
Oh. Yes. Okay.
Sorry, I got really enthusiastic because as soon as Shadow mentioned His and Her Circumstances, I was like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
All right.
That's
Yeah,
the
I was
one
kind of
thing I've
wondering
seen.
about that, whether or not you would have seen anything. My mention is actually going to be one that he inspired because if you've seen the anime Fooly Cooly,
Yes.
then the dad is actually an Anno derivative. So many Anno jokes are made through him.
He has a voice in it, too.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, he does. I can't remember who it is, though.
Let me find out.
Yeah, find that out. Atlas, what about you? Hideaki Anno, your favorite thing from him?
I have to agree here with Vixen, which was Evangelion, one of my all-time favorite mechs.
I
Next
think hers
to
was
Gundam.
His or Her Circumstances.
Yeah,
Yeah,
mine
mine
was
was
Evangelion.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I know. I really enjoyed His and Her Circumstances. I thought that was pretty good.
Wow, Atlas, I didn't realize you were a rom-com kind of guy.
Hey, I enjoy anything anime related. Okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Hey, ladies on YouTube, you're seeing the sensitive side of Anime Atlas 3514. You guys can check out his channel and all of his Hatsune Miku stuff. So
Oh my god.
the next one that needs to be brought up is Shinichiro Watanabe.
Ooh.
So just to bring kind of a refresher to people who don't know if they've seen anything, he is the creator of Cowboy Bebop. He is the creator of Samurai Champloo. Wolf's Rain, I believe, is under his banner, although people do correct me and say it's the music person from Cowboy Bebop that was responsible for that. But
Yeah, she did Wolf's... You're thinking of Yoko Kanno. She did Wolf's Rain.
thank you. So yeah, Samurai Champloo, Cowboy Bebop, and also most recently, Space Dandy. For me, obviously, Cowboy Bebop. I hate Champloo with a passion. I can't get into it.
You can't do it?
No, it's so weird to me. All right, what about you, Atlas?
Oh my god. Yeah, I gotta say Cowboy Bebop, because that was one of the first big major animes that I got into, and I really enjoyed a lot of it. I tried Samurai Champloo, but I just couldn't finish it. I really couldn't finish it. So
I didn't even realize I finished it. That's I apparently, because when Adult Swim looped it, I was like, oh, I apparently watched the last episode. Okay, well, that nightmare's over.
Yep.
So, Vixen, what from Shinichiro Watanabe have you seen?
Oh god, Space Dandy.
Okay.
I'd say that only because I remember it being so bizarre to me. Like the style itself, it always weirded me out.
It's weird. Like, I haven't seen Space Dandy yet. Everybody has recommended that I see it, but when I look at the promotional stuff,
bizarre.
It looks like Excel Saga to me, if people know what that is.
It almost does, yeah.
Yeah. All right, the next one that needs to be brought up is, and I mean, his work is very limited, but he is considered an anime creator, Akira Toriyama. He doesn't directly create anime, but he is considered an anime creator.
Oh yeah.
Believe it or not. So for me, it probably, actually, I'm going to throw a swerve because I've been watching it on subtitles. Dragon Ball Super has been really amazing to me, especially with the character development. Atlas, I have a feeling we already know your answer.
Oh yeah, DBZ. Hands down.
DBZ.
Yep.
Alex?
I've seen DBZ, but I don't really care much about it. So
Oh, come on, Alex. There's one you can bring up.
yeah, there's Chrono Trigger.
Yeah, Chrono
Oh,
Trigger.
Chrono Trigger, yes.
Chrono Trigger and Blue Dragon. Blue Dragon was also his.
I forgot about Blue Dragon. Holy crap.
Because it was an Xbox 360 property.
It was.
And then eventually got an anime.
Yep.
What about you, Vixen?
I honestly can't say I know that one very well.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to skip this one. I'm not very familiar.
All right. And here's the thing. So I actually did reach out to the Twitterverse to get some of these creators because a lot of them I didn't know the names for. This one I have to bring up because I don't know if anybody's really has seen anything aside from me. Go Nagai. Cutie Honey is my favorite.
Nice.
So if you don't know Go Nagai, Mazinger Z is his mecha claim to fame.
Oh, yes.
Cutie Honey is a magical girl one that he's done and actually has gotten a live action adaptation that's probably one of the better ones.
Ooh.
I've not heard of that one.
I think Anno did that one too.
I think so, yeah.
Well, Anno's paid homage to it. And I think he actually was part of the animation staff for one of the movies. So, yes, Anno's been part of Cutie Honey. And then also Devilman. If you've ever seen Devilman.
Yes.
Devilman's under Go Nagai. So, Atlas, have you seen anything from Go Nagai?
Oh, man, I got to say Devilman and definitely Cutie Honey because those two were the only two shows that I've seen from him. So, anything else I haven't really caught on just yet.
Yep. Vixen, have you seen anything from Go Nagai?
Honestly, no, but I am interested in that Cutie Honey thing.
You know what, Vixen? I'm going to recommend it wholeheartedly to you because Cutie Honey actually makes fun of the magical girl genre. And in a
Nice.
really
I'm
good way.
intrigued. You caught my interest.
It makes fun of it, but here's the thing that you have to get used to too, is that Go Nagai, since he's done a bunch of other riskier work, he is not ashamed of the stuff that he's done in there. So like, instead of the Sailor Moon transformation where they try to edit that stuff out, he doesn't really, and the character is based to be that way. So
Oh, okay, that's fine. Yeah, sounds good though. Sounds interesting. I will know who he is as soon as I've watched that show.
when you watch it, you need to let me know what you think. Because here's the thing,
will
it's
do.
it's all fragmented. You can't get everything here. Because Cutie Honey, I think, has a reach all the way back to the 70s.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's been around that long.
Wow.
Jeez.
In fact, as a starter, do you watch Anime Abandon at all?
Yeah.
Okay, watch his new. He actually did a review of the new Cutie Honey animated movie. That'll give you that'll give you a feel for what you're walking into.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna do this.
All right, and Shadow Blazer, have you seen anything from Go Nagai?
Nope, haven't seen anything.
This is surprising.
Yeah.
That's
it really
actually
is.
not really. I mean, like, if you had seen Cutie Hunter, I'd be like, what is wrong with your parents? I only came across it because nobody was paying attention to Blockbuster, so...
Oh, Blockbuster.
Well, I mean, it's not bad, but it is definitely very risque, you know?
Oh, yeah, there's going to be risque moments.
Yes, I mean, for crying out loud, they literally had a joke about Honey taking a bullet for the person that she's supposed to protect, and I can't remember the exact joke, but she's like in this motorcycle outfit, so like the long zipper, and they're like, "Honey, why are you alive?" And she goes, "Oh, it's very simple. Zip." And then you see this ginormous metal like chastity belt bra. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I actually am under contract that
God.
if my breast were to be damaged, the entire series might be undone.
Oh, yeah.
Oh god.
Yeah, that's how
God.
hilarious this thing gets, right?
Sounds like my kind of show, to be honest.
Yeah.
It really is awesome. So the next one that we're going to get into, and I think we're just going to wrap things up with him, and I don't know if you guys will have seen anything from him. Masami Obari. So this one's harder because he's one of the more risque guys. Masami Obari, if you've seen some of the fighting game video game adaptations, he's done a lot of those. Battle Arena Toshinden is his. Voltage Fighter Go Kaiser is his. What was the other one that he did? I want to say it was, no, not Darkstalkers. Fatal Fury. Fatal Fury, the animation is under his banner, or at least one of them is. And also Angel Blade. Yeah, The Quiet, I have a feeling nobody's seen.
No.
I've heard of Angel
I heard of
Blade,
Angel Blade, but
never
I've never
watched
seen
it. And other than that, I honestly don't know who he is, but I have heard of the name Angel Blade before in the past.
Yeah, I saw this name in the Twitterverse. I'm like, I have to bring this one up because, like, how many people actually would have seen stuff from him? I think also like in the mecha genre, I think Razafon is his, but that's all I know. So Atlas doesn't know anybody or know any Obari flicks. Alex knows, but I don't think it's because he's seen any.
The closest thing I can say I've seen, but it's not like one of his own creations or one he was a major part of, was an old 80s OVA sci-fi called Fight Ixer 1, and he's credited in various animation positions in that one, but it's not like he was the overall director or creator of it.
Yep. That's kind of the issue there, is that he's done a lot of like sub animation, like he's been part of animation teams, but stuff that he's actually led, that's a harder one to find stuff on.
Does a lot of Gundam.
Yeah, he's done a lot of mecha. He draws mecha really well.
He does. He really does.
But like when he directs, he's got some issues, including the fact that he likes to give both men and women horrible wedgies. Not even kidding.
Thanks
like
for the info, Drek.
I wish I could be kidding about this, but like he literally will just like, if you have like this samurai flick, because he's done a few of those too, if you have to have the samurai cross the river in the samurai thong that they have to wear, that he's got that thing jacked up so much, is like, that should be hurting right now.
I know.
And it's horrible. So Vixen, I could probably guess you have not seen anything from Masami.
Oh, hell no.
You know what? Does he have? Well, Angel Blade would be his magical girl one, and I don't know if I'd recommend that.
Yeah,
to you.
I have heard of Angel Blade, but never watched it. Never got to that point.
Yeah,
Wow.
again, one of those ones where I didn't come across it, but my best friend did, and he was like, "I had to see this just because the cover was so outlandish, and I was never the same ever again." That's basically what happened there. But that's pretty much all the creators that I have. Well, can I get into one more? Can I justify one more? No, because
there should have been another question that should have been thrown in there as well, as what is your favorite dubbed anime? That should have been a question there as well before we wrapped it up.
You know what? That's actually a good wrap-up question. I think that's perfect. Favorite dubbed anime for me? I don't even have to think about it. Yu Yu Hakusho. I love the dub there, and it makes me sad too, because as much as I love that dub, it's not the best thing Christopher Spot has done. I would actually dare say that's probably his work in DBZ or Full Metal Alchemist. But then you also have some great performances from characters that are very kind of second or third tier Funimation voiceover guys. Most of the time, they're writers now.
Oh, yeah.
Because I can't remember something Burger. Bergmeyer, I think is his name.
John Bergmeyer.
John
That's
Bergmeyer,
right, yeah.
who played Kurama, and I love his rendition of Kurama, but he doesn't really do a whole lot of voiceover anymore.
No.
Same thing with Justin
Cook.
Justin Cook, yeah, because he's Yusuke. But
He sure is.
yeah, I would say that's my favorite dub. Vixen, what about you? What's your favorite dubbed anime?
I would have to say Clanad and Clanad After Story. I just think that the emotion that the English voice actors put into that was absolutely outstanding, and I wouldn't have wanted anyone else to dub that. It was a perfect dub all in all, and the characters fit the role perfectly. It was beautiful. I love it.
Is that one that you've recommended to me, Alex?
I don't know if I've recommended it to you, but I have it.
I know
I've recommended it to you.
I know somebody has recommended Clanad to me, and then literally like 2 weeks later, I talked to another friend who's watched it. He's like, I think you should watch it, but you should take about 20 Prozac before you watch it.
Yeah, it's one of those
brain.
shows that likes to hit you in the head with the metaphorical baseball bat of hell. That's pretty much it.
Well, not only that,
Getting
but like
into a lot of crying.
the friend basically told me it was going to swerve me into a depression he didn't know if I was actually going to get out of.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yep.
Yeah, just be ready for a lot of things, man, because Clanad the animation is fantastic. It's just crazy.
All right. Shadow Blazer, your favorite dub, anime dub.
Let's talk, because there's so many good ones over the years, but I don't want to sound like a broken record too much, so I'm going to exclude one of my typical answers, but I'm actually going to say Madoka Magica. I thought that dub turned out really, really good for it. Because I remember going in, I was kind of anxious because there's a lot of actors who I really hadn't heard before, and they all performed absolutely splendidly. Especially when it came to having to do some of the really like dark, emotional, depressing moments that show is full of. They really stepped up to the plate and knocked it out of the park.
All right. And Atlas, what is your favorite anime dub?
So far, right now, the only one that I can think of right off the top of my head is Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans, because there is a various mix of old and new voice actors that got their roles in the show, and I think the show did really good on Toonami, and I sure can't wait for the sequel. Hopefully, if we do get a dub of it, but God, who knows what Sunrise will do. So, yeah.
Well, I've also heard that this is very early in the works, and I don't know if they're even going to make it work. But there is talk about getting not the series, but the Gundam Build Fighters Try movie dubbed here.
I've heard about it. Yes,
to give a prototype cast, and if it works out, then maybe at least we'll get Try.
Yeah.
Dubbed here. I don't know how successful that's going to be, but I hope that happens. And the only question I have for Iron-Blooded Orphans, because I don't know the cast just yet, I kept myself pretty in the dark. Did they find a way to? I can't remember his name, but he's in almost every Gundam series. He's played Amuro. He played Setsuna F-Seiya in 00.
Oh,
Is
he
in Iron-Blooded Orphans?
I don't remember at the top of my head. We're gonna have to look it up. For sure.
Like for those who don't know, I don't know the actor's name, but he played like Light Yagami in Death Note.
Oh, what from Death Note?
Oh yeah, Death Note. Shit.
I'll look at it right now.
Alex is on it.
Please get me it, because he's one that I actually would like to see continue to get work with Gundam.
Yeah, I know.
So the actor you're thinking of is Brad I don't know how to say his name, Swaley or something.
Yeah, Blood Swale or something like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So he has a role in Iron-Blooded Orphans?
I'm checking.
He's checking.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was asking you. Okay.
No. Nothing in Iron-Blooded Orphans.
Nothing? Okay.
Oh,
Not this one. All right.
sucks.
Shit.
Oh, well.
That would be nice,
All
though.
right. Well, that's a great jumping off point. We already are a little over time. I'm kind of surprised that we went a little over time, but I'm happy that we did.
Yeah,
because this has been an awesome episode of Why We Geek. So let's go ahead and wrap things up for the evening, because I already know that at least one of us is about 7 hours ahead and is probably dead tired right now. So at that point, let's go ahead and wrap things up. Since all of you are YouTube content creators, first of all, thank you for showing up on this panel and enjoying and dissecting anime with me here. But if people want to see your content and contribute to it and show their love for it, how do they get a hold of you, Vixen?
All right, so if you want to find me and my content, you just have to go on YouTube and look at Vixen Anime and Manga Box. I pretty much do hauls and reviews and con vlogs, and I do a little bit of gaming here and there. You can also find me on Twitter at Sasha Bentley 43, and you can also, if you feel so inclined, can follow me on Instagram at Sasha Michaelis Jones, where I will update you guys on my cosplay photos and new things that I am into.
That reminds me, I actually still need to update my PlayStation for you, because I have not done that yet. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I was going to say, Drek, what is if you can you text me your PSN name if you are playing PlayStation so I can add you?
Yeah, sure. But let's go ahead and keep things going.
Yes.
Alex the Shadow Blazer, how do people get a hold of you?
Well, of course, you can find me on YouTube. Shadow Blizzard 3000 is my channel where I do produce anime content and some anime lists and some occasional game content too on the side. Keeps the creative juices flowing. And of course, if you always want to know when a new video comes out, follow me on Twitter at AlexJShort.
All right. And Anime Atlas, how do people get a hold of you and the content that you provide?
Well, you can mostly find me on YouTube as Anime Atlas 3514. I really don't use Twitter a whole lot, but I do have a Facebook, but I only use it for family and friends. So, yep, YouTube is the only way you are going to find me.
All right. And if people want to get a hold of me, my content isn't usually anime related, but it is general geek kind of content. You guys are obviously checking out this video on my channel, which is youtube.com/Drac2326. You can do that there. You can also follow me on Twitter at Drac2326 and leave your information or not leave your information, but leave your comments on the videos that I do put up, especially for this podcast. I am always looking for new feedback and new stuff to be able to add to the show. Not necessarily subjects, because as we've kind of pointed out, my list is like a mile long and it just keeps getting added to. So if you want to leave one, that's fine, but it's going to take a while. It's going to take a while to get to all that stuff. So, and if you guys want to keep in contact with the podcast, unfortunately, we don't have a whole lot of that stuff set up just yet. But when we do, I will let you guys know, because there's been enough reception for this podcast that I think we're really close to getting its own RSS feed. So you guys can be able to take this on your morning commutes and all that fun stuff. So continue to show your love and support for the podcast, and eventually we will do that. And who knows, maybe we'll actually bring on this panel once again to discuss either anime or maybe even more specific anime in the near future. So that's going to go ahead and do it for us. Thank you guys so much for watching, for continuing to contribute to the Why We Geek podcast. I really do appreciate it. And for me, for Atlas, for Shadowblazer, and for Vixen, we will see you guys next time for the next episode of Why We Geek.